We just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's doing these masks, and especially thank you to the people on the front lines who are putting their life at risk every day and who are helping people. We can't do that because we're not doctors, but we're doing what we can, and we hope everybody else will join in. And we're always one nation under God, and we're united, and I hope that in this time people will not divide, but will come together to conquer this enemy.
Thank you guys so much for all that you do. We so appreciate everything that you're doing for us and keeping us safe and healthy.
Okay, so Jen and I today are going to show you how to make the masks that are close to being N95. Not perfect, but great. And they fit really tight. They're cloth on the outside and they have a filter on the inside that is supposed to protect from the virus. The disadvantage is that it doesn't fit quite as tightly as an N95 mask, but it should do a great job if they have nothing else. So here are the tools that you need. And this is a preference. You can use scissors or you can use the wheel. And Jennifer really likes the wheel, and I think it does a great job keeping your cuts straight. To make the masks, you have to make sure that you have 100% cotton material. The doctors all said that's very important. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can buy it by the yard, and I know that Hobby Lobby right now has it 40% off, so it's $6.99 a yard at 40% off, and you can get quite a few masks out of a yard of material. They also have tons and tons of different designs and things that are fun or whatever you want. This they do they're called fat quarters, and you can get them at Walmart. I think they were $4.99 or $5.99 at Walmart. They were $9.99 at Hobby Lobby. This particular kind that was tie-dyed was $6.99 at Hobby Lobby. But you can we decided you could get 4 masks out of a fat quarter. And then the lady at Hobby Lobby was showing me, like, they have all these little scraps. And as long as it's 100% cotton, and it will say on there, you can get it. So this one's about 10 inches, and she said it's not quite a yard, but like the masks measure 8 1/4 inches, so you could get several masks out of this, and it was on sale for $1.33. So those are cheap ways that you can get material for this. And in this time with everything going on, you can also talk to the store manager and see if they might be willing to donate something. So the other things that you will need, this is a quilting block or whatever you call it, mat that Jennifer got, and it works really well with the roller to give you really straight lines. It just makes things go quicker and easier than cutting, and we have found you have less fraying. You will need pipe cleaners, and this is what you put around the nose of the mask to keep it formed to your face and keep it tight against you. They say that you need white ones because the colored ones will fade, or not fade, but bleed when you wash them. So you want to make sure you get white pipe cleaners. And then there's several different ways that you can put the masks on. A lot of people are using elastic, which is great. But the doctors have said overall that they prefer the string kind that they can tie on. And in trying it on, I have to say I like the strings because you can tie it tighter. And that makes it stay closer against your face. The ideal one to get is the 1/4 inch, and you want to make sure that it's double fold bias tape. They're pretty sold out right now because of the pandemic, but so I don't think it's usually form over function, but in this time we're going function over form. So it may not all match, but you can get what you can. So this is ideal what to use. You could use the 1/2 inch wide, but when you use the 1/2 inch wide, to make it easier for them to tie and smaller, you have to cut it in half. So there's more work involved. However, if you use the 1/2 inch, you get double the amount of masks out of one package, and they cost the same. So anyway, it's your decision. There's more work involved with the 1/2 inch, but we prefer the 1/4 inch because it's less work and things go quicker. There are other YouTube videos out there that show you how to do this, but yesterday when we were working through this, we think that we found a quicker way to get through it. It still works the way it's supposed to, and it still looks great, but we're trying to monopolize our time to get as many done as we can in a short amount of time. So the other critical thing in this mask is the filter. So let me show you the filter. This is an important thing. It needs to be the 1500 filtration level or the 1900. I know some people are having a hard time finding the filters now. It doesn't have to be the 3M brand. It can be any brand, but this is what you need to make sure that it has. And you can see that it filters out dust, lint, pollen, pet dander, bacteria, and virus. That's important. The other thing to know about the filter is this little arrow. So this arrow is telling you the flow of the air through the filter. So the air comes in this side and goes out this side, and that's critical in making these masks. So when you take this apart, you want to make sure that you keep this, the arrow side towards the face. So when you deconstruct this, which is what you're going to do, you take it out, and on the side the arrow is facing, you're going to mark a little F for face. So the side that has the F on it will be facing the face, and you'll want that in the corner of each filter you put in the mask so that when they take it out to wash it, they'll know which way to put it back in. So we'll start telling you how to make this, and we did it in an assembly line type thing where we do it in stages, and she do a part and I do a part. So if you have someone working with you, it can really speed things up, because once you get in a mode of doing something, you tend to do it quicker. So we found that to be very helpful. When you break this down, you want to be very, very careful not to damage the filter itself. So to break this down, and we're not going to show you, but you want to be very careful. Once you take the plastic off, you will peel back the cardboard on the outside, and then you'll peel off the metal things, and then the filter is basically glued to the back side. So you want to very gently and carefully peel it off of that back side. And it will be, I got a big one because we got so many more out of it. I got the 20 by 30 by 1. But you can get smaller ones too. It's up to you. This was at Target $16.99. I heard people say they got some for $14.99 at Lowe's. You can get them anywhere. So anyway, once you deconstruct it, be sure on the big piece that you put that F on the right side. And then every time you cut a filter, you want to put a little F in the corner so that the person wearing the mask knows which way to put it. Okay, let's get into it. So here's a finished mask. And you can see on the top is the pocket. That's where you put the filter in. And one of the things I want to point out are the gathering, or the pleats. You put pleats in it so that they can spread it out over their face. And let me show you what that looks like. So it would be like this. Okay, and then it would go around. Then the pipe cleaner I was talking about is here, so you can actually form it to your nose to get a tighter, more secure fit. Okay, and they said in all my reading and research that it's important that the pleats face down. I don't know why, but that's what they were saying. So I'm going with that, pleats down. All right, so first step for what we did, Jennifer was cutting the material, and as her partner, I was doing the pipe cleaners because she knows how to use her handy dandy wheel better. But anyway, for the pipe cleaners, what you want to do is you want to take a full one and you'll fold it in half. This gives it, makes it sturdier and more secure. So what we did is we just twisted it, not too much, but enough. Made sure the ends were twisted so it didn't come apart. And so I took as many pipe cleaners as I could and did all that while she was cutting. So this is what you end up with, and this will be on the top. You can see it'll form, and once it's in the material, it pretty much forms to your face. So, okay, so the measurement that you want is 8 1/4 inches. So we're going to put it against the edge, and we do it right along the edge, and we start up higher just because if you put it way down here, you can't see the numbers. So it's against the edge, pretty lined up. And then we're going to put this little thingy at 8 1/4, which is over here. And then we take the wheel, and you're just going to roll it along this. And we go back and forth a couple times. Voila, so easy, love it. And so then you turn it sideways. And again, you don't want to cut on the fold. Leave the fold the way it is. So we'll put it against the side again. Get our handy dandy tool. And again, we'll put it at 8 1/4 right there. line it up, and then roll again. If this is sharp, it works really, really well. We just bought new wheels, so it's working great. So, voila, this is what you end up with, okay? Okay, so here's our piece, and again, we've kept the fold in place. So we fold it right sides together, okay? And what you want to do is we're going to be ironing this top part, and it's going to be where we put the pipe cleaner. So the first thing we do is iron it just like an 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And then I flip it over and do the other side to match. 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, something like that. And then now we're making the pocket for the pipe cleaner, so it needs to be a little bit bigger. It's about maybe 1/2 an inch. So we do that on one side, and then we do it on the other side to match. And it doesn't have to be exact on both sides. One side has to be about 1/2 inch to make sure that the pipe cleaner fits. The other one, we're just making a seam, so it doesn't necessarily have to be as wide. Okay? So now back to the sewing machine. So the first step, I was doing all the pipe cleaners while she was cutting. Then we had a bunch of these. So I would iron a bunch and then give them to her, and she would be doing the next step while I'm doing the ironing. Okay, so after we have ironed the pocket area, we have found that it's quickest to insert the pipe cleaner on the one side. Okay, so it's in the middle, and I basically have it centered. And I had this set yesterday. So then you're going to sew right along that edge with the pipe cleaner in there. You want to make sure that, I mean, you know this probably, but you just backspace over the edges to keep it secure. Okay, so you can see that the pipe cleaner is in there and it's basically centered, okay? And then what we do, just to keep it in place, so when it's all done, it's not sliding around, we decided to put just one little sewing thing right over the center of it, just to keep it in place after it's washed and such. Really simple, really quick. Okay, and we noticed yesterday a whole bunch of strings at the end, so before you turn them over to people, you might want to make sure you get all your strings trimmed. Okay, so we've done the side with the pipe cleaner, which will be the front of the mask, and then we just want to sew this seam on the other side. And we are just keeping the same thread throughout, and I know it's not maybe as pretty on some, but again, it's function over form at this stage of life. And clip. Okay, so we have both of our seams. Perfect. Well, not perfect, but it's there. Okay, and so from there, let's go to the next step. So the next step has to do with the bias tape. So we're ready to do that. Okay, so this next step, we get into the bias tape. Now, we prefer using the 1/4 inch, which is thinner, but it's scarce, so it's hard to find. So the backup plan is using 1/2 inch, I have it right this time, 1/2 inch bias tape. Make sure that it is double fold, extra wide doesn't matter, but bias tape, double fold, and here you can say it's a 1/2 inch wide. And so if you use the 1/2 inch, you get double the masks out of it. And let me show you why. For the 1/4 inch, which we prefer, takes less work and effort, you get 2 masks out of the package. For the double wide, basically what you do is where it's folded here, you're going to cut straight down the middle. So it gives you double. So for every yard of the double wide, you get a mask out of 1 yard. So you get double masks, but it's double the work. So if you use the double wide, what you're going to do is cut down the middle, And then you're going to have to zigzag over the, the edges. You're going to have to serge or zigzag so that it doesn't fray. Okay, but if it's just the 1/4 inch, all you got to do is sew it on. So this is so much better. Anyway, so you're going to take it out and you're going to measure 18 inches right here. So you're going to have 4 18-inch strands in the end for each mask. Okay, so we have our pipe cleaner on this end, and this end's now sewn, and I have ironed it at the crease, at the fold, so we know where the center is. We're taking our bias tape and we're putting it right on the fold. And we want to make sure this doesn't, you know, get in the way and get sewn twice. So that's out of the way. We take it, you want to line up your corners. And then we sew it. And then just before you get to the end, you're going to do your second one. And again, you're going to line it up right by the top and get the little tail out of the way. Okay, so you can see that they're both free. And then we're going to push them to the other side, and we're going to do the same thing on this side with the other 2 strings or bias tapes. You want to make sure you keep these even as you go. And before I get to the end, again, I'm putting my bias tape in towards the top. Fold it down. And then we're going to turn them inside out, poke the little corners. Voila! Okay, so you put it on the ironing board. This is the side with the pipe cleaner that goes around their nose. And remember I said that the pleats have to be facing down. For me, I do 1 pleat at a time and iron it. Jennifer does all 4, but she's probably more coordinated than me. So I do it with about a 1/2 inch in between. Watch your fingers. I want it to get steam. And then I go up and I do it again. And again, about 1/2 inch. And then again, I think it fits about 4 pleats. And I steam it pretty good and make sure it's in place. Voila. Now we're back to the sewing table. And again, if you have 2 people, one can be sewing these in, the other one can be ironing them and then sending them back to the next person. It works really well. Voila, the finished mask. And then you can adjust it with the pipe cleaner to give you the tightest seal around your nose and eyes so it doesn't slip up into your eyes. And this is what makes it not quite a 95, is that it is a little bit loose. You know, you can tie it tighter. If you tie it tighter, then it's going to be tighter and it'll be more protection. So there it is. Okay, so this is the alternate method if we're using the 1/2 inch bias tape, 1/2 inch double fold bias tape. So instead of inserting the 1/4 inch like we did on here, we're just gonna sew the sides. So we sew both sides completely. This is definitely a quicker way. And again, you will only get 2 masks out of the double fold this way, as opposed to when you cut the double fold in half and zigzag it, then you'll get more than 2 masks. Sides. Now we're off to the ironing board. So here it is. We've sewn both sides. Our nose piece is in there. Those are both sewn. So I just give it one little press. And this is where we do the accordion. Okay, so we're still doing this step. Down. I'm going to try it Jen's way. I have a really hard time doing them all at once, but I'm going to do it her way. She's way more coordinated than me. Okay. All right, so we have our accordion. Now we're going back to the sewing machine. So we have our accordion fold and it's been ironed. So the first thing we're gonna do is just sew down both edges. And I'm sewing it. You could baste it, but I think it's better just to go ahead and sew it in place now. And then we're going to do the other side as well. And the reason we're doing this is if you don't baste it or sew it, then when you try to put the bias tape on, it could go wild on you. Don't ask how I know that. Okay, so that's basically our mask. And at this point on the 1/4 inch, it would be done, but we need the strings, right? So with the 36 inch, it's a whole 36, and you want to bend it to find the middle. So here's the middle, and we want to line the middle up with basically where the middle of the mask is. So there's my middle. We're going to lay the mask in there like so, with the middle roughly there. It doesn't have to be exact. And just to keep it in place a little bit, I'm going to use one pin down here. If you're better than I and can hold it in place, great. So the other method with this 1/2 inch is that you can cut it in half and do like we did with the other. But if you do it that way, then you have to serge or zigzag the ends. So we're trying to get away from all of that to save a little bit of work. It's just a little bit more difficult to handle, but it saves some steps. So and then sew it here. And you do want to make sure that you're getting both sides of that in your stitch. Then I'm going to pull that out so as not to break my needle. And then you're going to do your little double stitch at the end. And voila. Now we're going to do it to the other side. Same thing. So here's our finished mask with the 1/2 inch tape, just one sew and one cut. So we don't have to do all the mess of putting it in the seams and zigzagging or serging all the way down. So it was definitely less steps and easier for the most part, but a little bit chunky to handle right here. But to me, it's worth it for the time and the less sewing because we don't like that. So again, I'm just going to show you how it fits. There's the nose piece, so I put it on. There's plenty of tie to tie it tightly. I think even someone with a really big head would be great. And then again, the bottom one, and you can do this as tight as you want it to get it as snug against your face as possible. And move it, and then you can adjust the pipe cleaner to fit your nose, snug fit.